Hi guys. A bit of a late one today, or shall I say tonight. Good reason for that. I met up with Zero, who is the awesome illustrator behind the new branding. Hi Solomon. Hi Veronica. Hi Jen. Hi everyone. And we just had a very good conversation. So our coffee time lasted much longer than initially expected. Hi Vlad. Hi Lauren. Hello everyone. Hi John. Hi Theo. Hi Sky. Hi Sherry. Hi Tucker. Hi everyone. But yeah, so we had a pretty long day today. Cindy was with us too. Cindy was so restless today. Hi Penart W. Cindy was with us. She was much more fussy today than usual. She found some random lady at the cafe and kept like jumping on her back and scratching her and being like, "Hi, attention." I don't know what she had with that one lady, but she just really wanted her attention. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Carlos. So yeah, there was like a whole thing going on there. So there will be a little bit less news. Hi, Tammy. Hi, Kat. I'm expecting a little less news to come through in the next couple of days because the Ukrainian Defense Ministry has quite literally submitted a request to all social media. Heroyam Slava. To all people on social media, to all news reporters, to everybody. Hi, Diane. The chat does not appear in the stream? What do you mean? What do you mean? But so basically, what was I going to say? Oh, so hi, Gap. Get away from the donut. Oh, yeah. Hi, Drake. Yeah, so operational security has to be strong for a while. And so the ministry quite literally asked no one to really speculate about anything, no one to really like post anything unless it's been released officially by the Ministry of Defense or by Operational Command South. And therefore, basically, hi, Lithuanian Bull. Therefore, basically, the things that I was talking about in some of my videos are the only things that I really can say unless some news are going to be coming out from the operational command. Now, we're not necessarily going to be speculating at all about the Southern Offensive. We are going to be talking about the things that do come out, and there are going to be other things about other frontline activity coming out, just not necessarily a lot about Kherson. At least I'm not anticipating so. And hi, David, and hi, Lauren. They don't even take journalists into the fighting zone. Yes, exactly. They don't want to. They don't want to take journalists into the fighting zone because they really want to minimize kind of information leakage, right? Now, someone on TikTok is asking, "How do you feel about Gorbachev's death?" And also, thank you, James, for subscribing. Hi, Mike. Heroyam Slava. Well, I mean, I don't necessarily. I'm not like, I'm not celebrating his death. Also, Sherry says he died at 91 and Ukraine liberated in 91. So he died at 92, but almost. And, well, thank you, Amanda. He's not necessarily, like, I don't think he's the most evil person, right? I think that he did let USSR slip. And had it been another dictator in power, it might have not broken down the way it did. But that's the whole point, Gorbachev wasn't like amazing for letting Soviet Union dissolve. It's just that he did not have enough grip on it to not let it dissolve. Had he had the grip, then it would not have dissolved. So it's not like his merit that it happened. It's the merit of the people that made it happen. He was just not a strong enough leader to keep up the dictatorship. Hi, Praxis. So I personally do not have like neither disdain nor respect for him. Well, he passed away. For me, that's just another trace of Soviet Union that doesn't exist anymore. This war is getting too spendy to fund, and there's no end in sight. Not good. Is it getting too spendy to fund? For who, Daniel? Are you funding the war personally? Are you in charge of the national budget of Ukraine, of United States, of Germany, of France, of any of these countries to judge whether it's too spendy to fund? Thank you, director. Are you the one? Are you the one in charge of the accounting for all of the countries that support us and of the accounting of Ukraine? If it's getting a little too spendy for you to fund, maybe you should go and protest in Russia. Maybe you should go and try to overthrow their government, and maybe you should go and try to cut it at the source. Maybe that's what you should do. Because the rhetoric of too spendy to fund is a little screwed up, given that there is a genocide, and for some reason you refuse to see it as that. See, I like to ask people, would you say that protecting Jews during World War II would be too spendy to fund had you been able to help them? Would you? Please say that to a Holocaust survivor and see what they tell you. Yeah? Are we done here? I'm sorry if it's personally too spendy for you to fund. I know Jews weren't protected. That's why I said if you had an opportunity to. Oh, it wouldn't matter if we gave 200 billion, the war would still go on and on. I see you're a warfare strategist over here. Oh my gosh, nice to meet you. Where's your degree from? How much experience do you have in strategizing the war? Are you a fortune teller? Or are you a warfare analyst? Are you either of these things? I'm sorry, I missed the credentials. Somehow. Am I missing something here? Because it seems like you know nothing about this war or about how warfare works. And I don't think you know anything that's happening if that's the conclusion you're drawing. If you at some point would like to educate yourself on what's actually been happening, then please let me know. I've been in wars. Well, that still doesn't qualify you as a war strategist or a war analyst. In fact, being a soldier in a war and being a war strategist or analyst are two very different things. Incredibly different things. That's why we have a lot of different chains of command that are responsible for different things. Are we done or still not done? Exactly. Thank you, James. Okay. And I already answered my thoughts on the death of Gorbachev. Hi, Dakota. Hi, Luann. Good to see you guys. Hi, Ryan. See, I really get very happy when people come here because they actually want to learn and they want to know something. Not come here and spew ignorant misinformation because they don't know what's happening and they just want to be angry and they want to complain about their taxes. And they want to express their frustration at not being able to manage the budget because they're not working in the places that would allow them to do so. And thank God. Anyways. Hi, Jason. Well, there is a lot happening in Ukraine today, and we are going to get to it. Hi, Carrie. Usually the way these streams work, if you are new, is we catch up for a little bit. Lately, it's been about 10 minutes, and then we dive into the news, and then we do like, a discussion session. Hi, Garth. Привет. We do like a little discussion session. We do questions and stuff like that. as a person wearing glasses, have you ever thought of getting LASIK surgery? Yes, I have, but I am not going to be, it's okay, but I'm not going to be doing it anytime soon because LASIK fades, like the effects of LASIK fade, and I would rather do it when my eyesight actually requires it rather than just for convenience. Kherson is still very hush-hush. In fact, as I said, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry has released a plea and an order to keep it hush-hush, to not speculate, to not talk about it, to not provide any information, to not share videos if you filmed them, to not do any of those things because it could actually do more harm than good. Hi, Kat. Thank you, Luann. Okay, so one of the things that happened today is incredibly unpleasant, but something that I would like to talk about. It is the headline of the stream today, if you are watching on YouTube, and it is about the massive strikes in Mariupol that are happening due to hunger. Basically, in the occupied Mariupol, there is a huge hunger strike. And I don't mean people are keeping themselves hungry. It's a strike because of hunger. The main reason for such strike is because there is no humanitarian help from the occupying forces, and there is no humanitarian help, period. The only way that the people in Mariupol can be getting food and water and supplies is through Red Cross. And Red Cross decided not to provide any humanitarian help because there are too many people to provide the humanitarian help for. The lines are too long and there are too many people asking. Obviously, because that is a garbage reason for an organization that cashes in billions of dollars and provides blankets and flashlights as disaster relief. They have an excess budget, more budget than a lot of corporate companies I can imagine. Oh, hi, Karsten. There is a link. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in so long. So good to see you. Привет, привет. There is a link in my bio. If you go to beacons.ai, like the link on my profile there, if you scroll a little bit, it's a it's called fundraiser, and it says consider it my birthday present. But I don't mean like, I still need to rewrite this, but I don't mean it's a birthday present for me. It's just that I created the fundraiser on my birthday and it was my birthday wish. But basically, Red Cross has excess budget, more budget than a lot of corporate companies make a year for advertisement. And they are using too many people in need as a reason to not supply any humanitarian help at all. So take a look. This is what's happening in Mariupol these days.
Сказали, будут уезжать, чтобы люди не стояли. Куда бы посылают даже красный крест. Вот придет двое.
So the guy in the first video says they stopped giving out food because there were too many people asking for food, and they decided that they can't bring food to everybody, so they just decided to stop giving it all together. And then the guy from the loudspeaker was basically screaming, saying stuff like, stop taking up so much space, stop like grouping together, we're not going to be giving out aid basically. And he was just basically telling people to go home, which is, again, quite crazy for an organization that racks in billions of dollars annually. And for all of the millions of dollars that they raise to relieve disasters, they only spend maybe hundreds of thousands because they're not a rebuilding organization. They don't need as much money as they get in donations because they're not using it for good. They're really not using it at all. I don't know where that money goes. It probably goes to fund more employees and probably goes to fund more like executives. Because at the end of the day, they have millions and millions and millions of unused dollars from every relief mission they've had. Like Hurricane Katrina was awful. Hurricane Sandy, awful. Awful, because they don't rebuild. So all of this money goes to waste, basically. So yeah. So that is the very unfortunate, upsetting reality of what happens. EU to propose new training to boost Ukraine's military. Slovakia officially bids farewell to MiG-29AS that are leaving for Ukraine. Ukraine's Air Force will soon be reinforced with MiG-29 fighters from Slovakia, as previously reported. Thank you, Dora. Administrative costs, right. They had 9 MiG-29AS and 2 MiG-29 UBS in service, all of which will go to fry the invaders. EU offers to train Ukrainian snipers, mine diffusers, and officers. This was stated in an unofficial document sent to member states by the EU Foreign Policy Department, Bloomberg has reported. The enemy is actively trying to improve positions in Donbass, but without success. Main from the General Staff summary for the morning of August 30th. In the north of Kharkiv region, Russian troops made an unsuccessful assault attempt. To the southwest of Sloviansk, there was an attempted enemy assault on the village of Shnurky, south of Dovhenki and Kurulki. Had no success, withdrew. Near Bakhmut, the enemy unsuccessfully attacked Zaitseva and Kodemy near Horlivka, Shumen. In the Donetsk area, Russian and DNR forces unsuccessfully conducted offensive battles in the direction of Mariinka and Novomykhailivka. Hi, Jillian. There are no reports on the Ukrainian counteroffensive in the Kherson region. AFU advances deep into Kherson region while Russia tries to ignore it, according to the Institute for the Study of War. While Ukraine remains silent about military action towards Kherson region, Russia makes disparaging statements about the AFU's successes in Kherson region. Meanwhile, Western media and Russian bloggers make no secret of the counteroffensive and report a number of deoccupied settlements. The Kremlin makes disparaging statements about the counteroffensive by the AFU in the Kherson region in an attempt to maintain the appearance of Russia's extensive military successes. The invaders are transferring new equipment via pontoon crossing north to Kherson, but this method of supply is vulnerable to Ukrainian strikes. In the coming days, Russian logistics efforts dependent on the Mariupol rail transit are likely to weaken due to a lack of electricity, damage to station cranes, and flooding preventing the railway from operating in Mariupol. Mr. X-Fan on Twitch says, your accent sounds American rather than Ukrainian. А якщо я буду розмовляти ось так, тобі це чимось допоможе? Тому що я також вмію розмовляти ось так. I could also speak like this if you'd like me to, and I would sound English to you. I could also kind of talk like that, and you would think I'm from the valley. I can also speak like this, and I will sound Russian. My accent has nothing to do with where I'm from. I learned English when I was 4 years old, and I learned it in Ukraine from a native speaker. Thank you, Paul. In the coming days, Russian logistics efforts dependent on the Mariupol rail transit are likely to weaken due to a lack of electricity, damage to station cranes, and flooding preventing the railway from operating in Mariupol. So Mariupol basically is still in incredibly tough conditions, and Mariupol is a very important point for Russians. Because Mariupol is a connection point. If when they lose Kherson, Mariupol is going to be next. when they lose Mariupol, they're done. They're done, and this is basically the breaking point of the counteroffensive. Mariupol is their transit system, and losing that will basically lose them the war, and they know it, and that's why they were so harsh on Mariupol to begin with. I was also reading some more. Oh, sorry. Fantastic news. I received a very interesting email today from United 24, and it was titled, it was titled something, but the context of the email was basically like, hi, you have worked with our other team, but we would like to try and work with you for voiceovers of our videos as well. So I'm waiting for the details on them, but they would like me to record a 90-second video voiceover for them for one of their rubrics, and I'm thinking that's the one that is currently being voiced over by the, like, I don't know which team it is, but they have a bunch of different teams that do like history and politics videos, and I'm thinking that the one that most likely reached out to me, because it seems like a similar rubric to what I did before. Heroyam Slava. A similar rubric to what I did before is probably this one.
Collapsed in 1991, but who takes credit for it? Soviet people were
I would think
to
that's
see
it.
the broadcast of Swan Lake Ballet on TV.
But I'm really excited. Honestly, I really love doing these voiceover videos, and I think they're really fun. And also, you guys know how much I love history, so I feel like fish in water in those, doing those. So it's really cool, and I really, honestly, am very, 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 very happy and very humbled that they would love to work with me. So yeah, so that's kind of cool. Slava Ukraine, Heroyam Slava. So there, I added new quotes to Twitch and YouTube, but they don't seem to be working. Oh, let's see. Thank you, Whimsy, and thank you, Solomon. Well, I think that the thing is more like, the guy, a lot of people who do voiceovers for Ukrainian videos, like, I don't know if you've noticed this, but in every country, a different thing works, right? So if you listen to voiceovers or if you listen to the radio in France, it's usually female narrators, and their voices are usually a very particular kind. If you listen to the radio in the US, it's usually a male with a very, very like low kind of voice like this, right? And they're like, welcome to Radio 95. Today we're going to be listening to whatever, right? So that's kind of like the voice for the radio here, but you will never hear it like that in France or in Germany, because they just kind of like a different pitch and a different tone. So I think in Ukraine, a lot of our voiceovers and a lot of our commentators are male, and they have a very specific tone of voice too. And it's not necessarily super suited for the US. So I think that that's the reason why maybe I'm getting some offers, because I think it's just a different sort of like way of narrating, and a different like tone and a different pitch. And I think that it's more like, I think that the US audience is more used to voiceovers being done in my frequency than voiceovers being done in like a male who kind of talks like this, because our voiceovers are usually done to be like quirky like that, I don't know. It's interesting. I might be wrong, but I think it's very interesting as to what different countries prefer and what different countries react to more. But that's sort of like my opinion. So yeah. So another piece of news today is that the EU will not ban Schengen visas for Russians. The only decision they're preparing to make is to slow down their issuance, Politico reports. Ministers are expected to simply come to a political agreement to essentially slow down the process of issuing visas for Russians and make it more expensive. It is pointed out that most EU countries are without much enthusiasm for the idea of Eastern European brethren banning Russian nationals altogether. I will say that that is most likely because Russians do spend a lot of money. They don't have anything to spend money on in Russia right now. So the EU is trying to bankroll their tourist quota and their shopping through the hungry Russian tourists that still have money and want to spend some money in Europe. And will be spending lots of money in Europe because they're scared that they won't be able to soon. So yeah, I see Germany said they're in favor of cutting them out. Germany has been flip-flopping their opinions back and forth for so long now. I honestly, it's hard for me to understand what they're doing right now. It looks like they're having like a psychotic breakdown because German economy depends on Russia so much that it's like hard to even describe. Schröder and Merkel basically like based their entire economy based off of Russia, which to me is insane because Russians don't even respect Germans. They see Germans as like their doormats, and Germans kind of like unfortunately leaned into it, but that's very likely due to Merkel and her prime ministership. Or rather Bundeskanzlership. And yeah, and she really did do that. And now Germany is super dependent on Russia. So I feel like they're having like a psychotic breakdown because partially they're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Because without Russia, our economy is going to collapse. And then they're like, wait, but we don't want to piss off the EU because if Russia gets completely cut off and we have no option but to make the decision, we don't want the EU to not give us what we need. So it genuinely looks like a meltdown. It looks like Germany is having a meltdown and they just completely keep flip-flopping their opinions because at first they said that they can't see themselves cutting off Russian visas. Then they were in favor of cutting off Russian visas. Then they were not in favor of giving Ukraine ammunition and their equipment. Then they were in favor of giving Ukraine ammunition and equipment. At first, they didn't want to go to Kyiv. Then they were upset that they weren't invited to Kyiv. Meltdown. It's not even a meltdown. It's just more of like they're very lost and they don't know what to do. They genuinely don't know which direction they should be swaying in because they really understand that their economy is going down and there is no other way it's going to go down, but they have to figure out how to make it go up from there. And Scholz is not really like a super backboney guy. And I think that he took Germany at like a pretty peaceful time. Nothing really was going on. He was just like going to coast through his Bundeskanzlership and he was just going to kind of do that. And now he's in a position in which he himself never wanted to find himself because he needs to figure out how to take this country that's completely dependent on Russia, that's about to be cut off from their main source of stability and their main source of like economic growth, right? And figure out how to now not depend on Russia, whether to depend on someone else, whether to figure out how to depend on themselves. And he's kind of like at a crossroads because he has to make a lot of decisions for his country. And no matter what decisions he's going to make, he's going to go down in history as the dude who killed the German economy for Germans, right? Because whatever decision he makes, the economy is going to tank. But it's about how well he's going to manage to boost it back up. But we all know how people look at these things. They don't, like most of your electorate doesn't look at how well you boosted the economy. They just looked at the fact that under your leadership, the economy was garbage, right? So I think that he's kind of processing. He also genuinely probably doesn't know what to do. So he is back and forth. Well, hi, Romania. To be less reliant on Russia, but during her, there was more integration. Well, Merkel is close friends with Putin. Merkel also spent her student years or like at the beginning of her career working in Moscow. So I don't know about her wanting to be less reliant. She also closed down their nuclear power plants. Merkel is like a very calculated, very interesting figure because I think that her reasoning for what she did and why she did it was very different. Like why she said she did things was to appease the German public. Why she actually did things was to keep up with Putin. I believe so. Hi, Juju. I'm not saying it as a fact. It is, again, it is important to know that this is just my analysis. The facts that I've said before, that that Germany is dependent on Russia, that's a fact. The fact that German economy is going to go down, that's a fact, because again, they will have to, you can't do that. You can't just cut Russia off without a trace, right? Without impact onto your economy. That's a fact. My reasons as to why I think Merkel made their economy so dependent on Russia, this is my analysis. What I think is happening with Scholz right now is also just my analysis, but that's what it looks like from the outside. Over the past 24 hours, 8 ammunition depots, 6 bases, 1 command post, and 1 military unit of the occupying forces were destroyed. In addition, hits to Oleshke, Antonivka Road, Antonivka Railway Bridges, Lvivo Crossing, Borislav District. A few missile and artillery units continue to destroy Russian invaders in southern Ukraine, according to Operational Command South. Hi, Ghost. 3 ammunition depots near Borislav, Vysokopilya, and Antonivka were destroyed during the day. Russian losses amounted to S-300 SAMs, 2 T-72 tanks, 11 MSTAB howitzers, 3 Grad and Uragan MLRS, TOS Santsipyok, Hyacinth S, SAO Nona S, 120mm mobile mortar, the Akatsiya and MSTA-S self-propelled howitzers, 6 armored vehicles. Роман Аджеев, suck my dick, я понимаю, что тебе бы очень хотелось, я понимаю, что ты в жизни не можешь найти себе женщину, которая согласится на такой ужасный поступок, чтобы с тобой вообще иметь какой-то интим. Я это понимаю, И я понимаю, что единственное, где ты можешь это сказать и выпустить свой frustration за то, что с тобой никто не хочет заниматься сексом, это на этом стриме. Или в интернете просто. Чувак, бляха, пойди купи себе, я не знаю, подписку на OnlyFans, пойди купи себе подписку на куда угодно. Или выйди в люди, не знаю, начни уважать женщин, может, какая-нибудь дура таки согласится с тобой переспать. Бляха. Меня только в это не ввязывай. You wish. But here's the thing, honey. In order for me to suck it, there has to be something to suck. And it don't look like you have anything in your pants. Anyways, hi, Netlin. Привет, Sophia. You guys came into this stream at a very interesting moment, but there was some Russian person who told me to you can get it from what I just said. Anyways, hi, Jeremy. Hi, the Hun. I wish that Russia stopped their offensive as well. But, they won't, and we are going to push them out because we will never let them occupy our land, and we will never let them take our people hostage, and we will never let them do atrocities to our people. How can looking at someone tell you his size, though? Because he's compensating. If you have to say something like that, you got to be compensating for something. But yes, Gorbachev did pass today. Jeremy is saying, so Gorbachev is no more. Yes, he did pass today in Moscow at the age of 92 years old. Heroyam Slava. Heroyam Slava. Oh, literally when I said Heroyam Slava, a person with the name Slava followed me. Sounds like, Russian tongue. Sounds like you went through a hard childhood. No, honey, unlike you, I had toilets and electricity. I don't think it's hard. You, however, are going through a very hard moment in your life, and I would suggest you would take a cold shower. Anyways, I heard they want to do something similar to Kazakhstan. They'll get beat up badly if they do. Russians, I don't think they're trying to do anything similar to anything. I think that Russians are scrambling and trying to figure out what they can do because every single thing that they've tried so far has failed. And they're really running out of all possible resources, and Ukraine is only garnering resources. So whatever they're planning, it is highly unlikely that they're going to be able to be successful. And if you'd like to hear my analysis on why I think so, I actually did do a very deep breakdown on my stream yesterday. I think you're new. I've never seen you here before, so hi. But if you want to see the analysis, I did do like a very, very long breakdown yesterday, talking about the Kherson offensive and how Russian military functions, or rather not functions, and why. And it's on my stream from yesterday, and also you can find it on YouTube if you'd like. So yeah, so that's where you can find it. Hi, Jules. And do you have updates on Transnistria? Not as of right now, but maybe we will see. Anyways, nighttime in regions close to the front was turbulent. In Zaporizhia, the invaders launched a rocket attack. In Dnipropetrovsk region, Nikopol, Dnipropetrovsk, and Kryvyi Rih districts were shelled with grads, heavy artillery, and rocket attacks. A bus terminal, shops, and a children's library were damaged. Houses, power grids, and a gas pipeline were damaged as well. Massive shelling has hit the Mykolaiv region, destroying houses and transport infrastructure. 2 people were unalived and 24 injured. In Kharkiv region, shelling hit settlements near the line of contact in Chuhuiv, Kharkiv, Bohodukhiv, and Izum districts. There were wounded. 2 civilians were... Oh, hi, Emmy. 2 civilians were unalived in Rozdolne and Pivnichne. 4 more are wounded. Do you need help? Oh my gosh. Yesterday, there were massive strikes on Vasilivka, an important transport artery on the way to Enerhodar, and fighting continues for the village. The settlements of Shkribaki and Nesteryanka taken under the control of the armed forces of Ukraine. In Enerhodar, advanced reconnaissance groups of the AFU are fighting. Gunfire and explosions can be heard on the streets, including the city center. The Russian military, primarily the Wagner, are beginning to retreat to their established positions at the ZNPP. Realizing that the AFU will not strike at the nuclear facility and storm the ZNPP, the civilians are covered as a human shield. Question. Oh my gosh. Are you going to be going to the shower right now? Because if you're going to be cooking, then I'm going to move. But if you're showering, then I'm going to just try to finish it over here.
I'm going to shower first, and then I'm going to eat.
Okay. All right. Sorry, my roommate is back from her trip, so I just want to, figure out whether it'd be more convenient to do the news from my room. Okay, so I don't know how many of you have heard that, because for me, it was kind of difficult because I was trying to figure out what's happening and reading at the same time. But basically, so I'm going to reread this again. But yesterday, there were massive strikes on Vasilivka, an important transport artery on the way to Enerhodar. Actually, wait a second. Super Z Slava Rossiya over here on YouTube appeared, and I am very curious to see what he has to say. Why can't Ukraine? You only care about kick Russian out of Crimea. You hate freedom. You support the nationalist states. Anti-Russian propaganda. Donetsk and Luhansk will be free. Honey, the one thing out of this word diarrhea that you said is true. Donetsk and Luhansk is going to be free. And thank you for not calling it DNR and LNR, because those structures don't exist, and even you know that. Or Putin didn't pay you enough to learn what he wants you to say, which is upsetting, but good news for me, because that means that you're not going to be able to continue your деятельность for much longer. Anyways, why can't Ukraine what? Why can't Ukraine white flag? Well, because не дождётесь, суки, you know? Because here's the thing. We don't hate freedom. You people hate freedom, okay? You people came onto our land and for some reason decided that you know better what we should be doing in our land, okay? Well, here's the thing. Nobody asked you to come. Nobody's asking for your advice. Nobody, frankly, is asking you for anything. We're not putting anti-Russian propaganda. We're just putting anti-propaganda for Russian propaganda. That is a little bit different. I think you're a little confused here. I know you're so used to propaganda because that is just your entire life that you don't understand that battling propaganda doesn't count as propaganda. You live in such a totalitarian regime that you don't understand that people not wanting anything to do with that regime doesn't mean we hate someone or we're anti-Russian. That just means that we're a free nation and we want to decide for ourselves, because that is our freaking right constitutionally. Also, for all of you Super Z Slava Rossiya people, whatever, have you never thought about the fact that Russia recognized Ukraine's borders in 1991 and that all of those Russian speakers that you came to liberate asked you to get the F out? Does that not concern you? No? Does it not concern you that there's suddenly all of these ruined cities in Ukraine after Russia came in? Why didn't Ukraine bomb them before? Huh? That's just food for thought for you, honey, if you have an ability to think, obviously, which I doubt you do because you took up a job of being a Russian troll, which by default basically tells me that you can't do anything better with your life. But if there is a glimpse of hope for you, think about that. Now, good night. It's a little too late in Russia for you to be awake and spewing bullshit. Have a good night. Go drink some vodka. Go to sleep. Anyways, yesterday there were massive strikes in Vasilivka, an important transport artery on the way to Enerhodar, and fighting continues for the village. The settlements of Shcherbaki and Nasterianka taken under the control of the AFU. In Enerhodar, advanced reconnaissance groups of the AFU are fighting. Gunfire and explosions can be heard on the streets, including the city center. The Russian military, primarily the Wagner group, are beginning to retreat to their established positions at the ZNPP, realizing that the AFU will not strike at the nuclear facility and storm ZNPP. The civilians are covered as a human shield. Iran, on 19th of August, sent the first batch of drones to Russia to use in Ukraine. The Washington Post reports that the Russians want to use the drones to hunt down HIMARS. However, according to the publication, the Russian military has already encountered a number of malfunctions during the first tests of the devices. Of course, because, one dictatorship to another. Nothing ever goes smooth in a dictatorship because nobody ever actually wants to do it. So I doubt that these drones are made well. Red Cross base shelled in Sloviansk. According to Taras Lohanov, commander of the Red Cross Society of Ukraine Rapid Response Unit, a total of 4 shells were fired at the center by the Russians. As a result of the shelling, a building was destroyed and 3 vehicles were damaged. The destroyed building housed an evacuation detachment which had been busy evacuating wounded, sick, and low-mobility civilian local residents since April 18th. Red Cross representatives delivered food and hygiene kits, tarpaulin and polythene for home repairs, blankets, medicine, and drinking water to the local population. Hopefully one day Chechnya, Dagestan, Ossetia, and Abkhazia will be free as well, and Tatarstan and Bashkortostan. Yes, I hope so too. I really hope that the minorities in Russia stop being minorities and actually have the chance to live in their own countries like they should have from the beginning of it, because none of these republics are Russian, and they shouldn't be. They have their own culture, they have their own traditions, they have their own language, they have their own everything, and they should be their own republics in charge of their own education, their own language, their own culture, and their own everything. British intelligence update as of August 30th, 2022. From early on 29th of August 2022, several brigades of the Ukrainian armed forces increased the weight of artillery fires in frontline sectors across southern Ukraine. Ukrainian long-range precision strikes continue to disrupt Russian resupply. It is not yet possible to confirm the extent of Ukrainian advances. However, since the start of August, Russia has made significant efforts to reinforce its force on the western bank of the Dnipro River around Kherson. The Southern Military District's 49th Combined Arms Army has highly likely been augmented with components of the Eastern Military District of the 35th Combined Arms Army. Most of the units around Kherson are likely undermanned and are reliant upon fragile supply lines by ferry and pontoon bridge across Dnipro. This integration of SMD and EMD units suggests a significant reorganization of Russia's force in Ukraine. There is a realistic possibility that Russia has moved to rationalize the several semi-independent operational commands which contributed to its poor performance early in the invasion. If Ukraine succeeds in undertaking sustained offensive operations, the cohesion of this untested structure will likely be a key factor in the sustainability of Russian defenses in the south. The Han Yulia, am I somewhat correct in saying that Moscow and St. Petersburg are the heart of Russian world and that Russia is pretty much just subjugating everyone else in the country? Yes. Moscow and St. Petersburg are basically like the ethnic Russian places that were originally populated by the Russians. And everyone else is basically a colony of Russian Empire that Russia basically drains resources from in order to fund Moscow and St. Petersburg. So yes, you would be correct, not somewhat, but you would be quite fully correct. The Russian army fired at least 10 caliber missiles at wooden HIMARS mock-ups. The Washington Post reports that wooden decoys looked like American missile systems through the lens of Russian drones. Russian drones transmitted data on the location of the equipment to missile carriers in the Black Sea, which attacked mock-ups, mistaking them for IP targets. The decoys pulled at least 10 caliber cruise missiles, an initial success that allowed Ukraine to scale up production of replicas for wider use. So Ukraine fooled Russians once again. See, Russians had inflatable air defense systems in Crimea. And Ukrainians were like, well, this is stupid. But, you know, I guess we as people like to learn on somebody else's mistakes. And we were like, wait a second. If those idiots think that they can fool us with inflatable air defense systems, what if we try? What if we just like try? We tried and it worked. It is a number one inflatable air defense system in the world. Wooden HIMARS will waste $500 million of Russian money in no time. Southern trade port in Odessa region resumed work. On August 29th, the Fulmar S was moored in the port and became the first ship since the beginning of the Russian invasion. This important event for the country and the enterprise helps to see positive prospects for the restoration of freight traffic, the state enterprise said in a statement. This was stated by German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock during a meeting of the foreign ministers of the EU countries, that Germany suspends visa facilitation agreement with Russia. So, yes, so what countries have been doing is they've been suspending visa facilitation agreement with Russia, which means that it's going to be harder for Russians to get visas, and it's going to be harder for countries that suspended this agreement to get Russian visas and come and hang out in Russia, which is so sad. But yes, now it's going to be much more difficult for Russians to visit EU countries, because those countries, well, instead of banning visas, they're going to make them more expensive. They're going to make the process more complicated. You're going to have to show a whole bunch more documents, and you're going to not be able to travel so freely. So that's what their like compromise is. The Office of the Prosecutor General believes that ammunition from a flamethrower could have exploded in a colony in the temporarily occupied Olenivka Donetsk region. This is stated in the response of the Prosecutor General's office to a request from DW. According to the Prosecutor General's office, a capsule with a combustible mixture of a thermobaric explosion of flamethrowers such as Shmel M links could explode. The investigation came to this conclusion as a result of an analysis of freely available video recordings. So this directly contradicts Russian statements about HIMARS. I mean, there is not a trace that it could have been HIMARS to begin with, and that could not have been HIMARS in any reality in which we live. It could have been HIMARS in a parallel universe where HIMARS literally burns things to the ground instead of like causing an explosion. But none of the traces of what happened in Olenivka resemble a pattern of a HIMARS attack at all. Not a single thing could have been from HIMARS. The Taiwanese army opened fire on the drone of the Chinese armed forces after it approached the Kinmen Islands. That is not good news, because China could use that as a reason to start conflict. In the Zaporizhzhia region, Russians shot an evacuation convoy, Mayor of Melitopol Ivan Fedorov. According to him, on Monday, the occupiers released a large number of civilian cars from the captured Vasilivka, who tried to evacuate to Zaporizhia, but as soon as the cars were in the gray zone, the Russian military opened fire on them. The shelling was carried out from a distance of 50 to 100 meters. Fortunately, there were no casualties, which is a miracle, quite literally. In the European Union, an internal explosion is possible. It could be provoked by a split between states that want peace between Moscow and Kyiv and those who want Ukraine to win. This was stated by Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki in an interview with Le Figaro during a visit to France. Well, to those states that want peace between Moscow and Kyiv, I truly wish that you never have to experience what we as Ukrainians are experiencing today. Because if you had, you would not be saying anything like that. I wonder how much you would want peace with any given country that would be destroying all of your cities, killing off your future generations, killing off your elderly, brutally assaying, torturing, and murdering the defenders of your country, and burning them alive, as in the case of Olenivka. I wonder how much you would want to get to a peace agreement with them. In Novokakhovka, a pinpoint strike on the equipment of the invaders is reported. Hi, Aya, thank you so much. This information is being verified. Active detonation also is heard in Tavrisk, Kherson region. This is what it looks like. Also, the Hunt 432984 says this on Twitch. And didn't Ukraine exist before Russia technically? Because Kyiv and Nizhny Novgorod were the central government of Kyiv and Rus before Moscow came into the fold centuries later. Nizhny Novgorod was never the central government of Kyiv and Rus. Kyiv was the center of Kyiv and Rus. Nizhny Novgorod has nothing to do with Russia. Nizhny Novgorod also does not, like Veliki Novgorod, does not have anything to do really with Kyiv and Rus. It was a settlement of Ugro-Finnic tribes at first that wanted nothing to do with the Russian Empire. And Ukraine didn't technically exist centuries before Russia. Ukraine quite literally existed centuries before Russia. Kyiv was a city, a full-fledged city in 400s, and Moscow did not exist as like somewhat a city until 1100s. And no matter how much Russians want to think that they have anything to do or anything in common with the Kyiv and Rus, they absolutely do not. And they absolutely they have nothing to do with it. I'm going to do a history live with Natalia again covering this topic. I'm also going to try and do a video on it a little later, but yes, Ukraine is Kyiv and Rus and Russia is not. And at that point in history, it was called Ukraina Rus or Kyiv Rus. So yeah, so Ukraine existed far before Russia. EU to deliver 5.5 million. Oh, thank you, Truthful. And thank you, Aya. Thank you so much. EU to deliver 5.5 million potassium iodide tablets to Ukraine to protect against potential radiation exposure. There has been a lot of talk in terms of potassium iodide tablets, which I personally have in my apartment, and I recommend everybody buys just in case. Hi, D. Gilmore. Hi, Rosalind. Because, Russian forces have been retreating to Zaporizhia nuclear power plant because they know that Ukraine is not going to shell it, but Russia could shell it, and Russia has been shelling it, and there has been quite a bit of damage to surrounding areas, not not necessarily like on the territory of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, not at the power plant itself, but on its territory. Hi, Kevin. And so, again, obviously, we're not anticipating any crisis to happen, but better safe than sorry. The enemy continues to suffer significant losses, especially in manpower. In the Slobozhansky direction, the enemy continues to conduct military operations in order to hold the previously occupied lines. In the Slivansk direction, the invaders tried to advance in the direction of the village of Shnurky, suffered a fiery defeat, and retreated. In the Donetsk direction, the enemy is strengthening the grouping of troops in the Kurokhovsky direction by regrouping individual units from the central military district. The armed forces of Ukraine conduct positional battles in order to improve the tactical position along the line of collision. The main efforts of our subunits are focused on hitting command and control posts, air defense systems, ammunition depots, and disrupting the functioning of the enemy's logistical support system. Under the cover of the infrastructure of the nuclear power plant, the artillery of the Russian Federation intensified shelling of the areas of the settlements of Nikopol and Oleksiivka. Volodymyr Zelensky met with the IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi. The meeting took place on the eve of the visit of the IAEA delegation to the Zaporizhzhia NPP, which is to take place tomorrow. Ukraine is preparing evacuation routes from the occupied Crimea. Advisor to the head of the presidential office, Podolyak. We are already developing evacuation routes for residents of the occupied Crimea who want to leave the peninsula during active deoccupation. In the meantime, we ask everyone to stay as far away from military installations as possible and check shelters, he wrote. Podolyak stressed that for Ukraine, the life of citizens is an unconditional priority. There have been a lot of alerts, especially to people who consider themselves Ukrainian, to evacuate out of Crimea into Ukraine, and they've been preparing evacuation routes because, well, this offensive is not, well, we're not going to speculate, but from the looks of it, this is a massive offensive aimed at deoccupying all of the key territories that have been occupied and at freeing the residents of all of the key territories. Because here's the thing, Russians had Mariupol in a circle. If we deoccupy Crimea and if we deoccupy Kherson, then we're going to have Mariupol in a circle, and then we're going to have Donetsk and Luhansk in a circle. So Russians are basically going to be surrounded. So that's just my analysis. Covert mobilization in the central and southern regions failed in Russia. Now the authorities of the aggressor state are looking for mercenaries and private military campaigns to send them to fight against Ukraine. The Ukrainian intelligence reports. Volodymyr Zelensky met today with U.S. Senators Robert Portman and Amy Klobuchar. I welcome U.S. Senators to Ukraine. The bipartisan and bicameral support of Congress is very valuable to us. And hi, Kevin. The development of the situation at the front was discussed in detail. Thanks to the United States for the security assistance. It should continue and build up. This is important for the victory of Ukraine. The sanctions policy against the aggressor country should also be strengthened. One of the elements of such pressure should be introduction of visa restrictions for citizens of the Russian Federation so that the Russians feel the consequences of their own support for aggression against our country. Also, are my comments just not loading, or are you guys not commenting? Because I just want to make sure that the live is okay, because sometimes it glitches. So please let me know if you're able to comment, because if you're not able to comment, well, then it's slow. Gotcha. Okay, that's good. Just want to make sure. Also, hi, Amy. Baykar unveiled the second prototype of the Bayraktar Kizilelma Red Apple supersonic strike drone. It is reported that the UAV is equipped with a jet engine and a developed artificial intelligence system. For takeoff, the minimum length of the runway is sufficient. The drone is capable of launching from the deck of a light aircraft carrier. Kizilelma is planned to be produced, among other things, at the plant that Baykar is going to build in Ukraine. The first flight of the UAV is scheduled for 2023. After this, looking at the Iranian drones that the Kremlin purchased is simply ridiculous. So here is what it looks like. Oh, no worries. Yeah, I've seen some Polish posing trolls, and I was like, you're not Polish. So this is what the new Bayraktar looks like. Latest U.S. arms shipment are for the UAF counteroffensive in the south, CNN citing White House spokesman. The White House has been helping the Ukrainian military prepare for the current counteroffensive over the past few months by fulfilling specific arms requests, a Biden administration official said. Ukraine has been asking for the US for weapons specifically designed for their planned counteroffensive in the south in the months leading up to this week's launch, he said. The US has fulfilled many of those requirements, including more ammunition, artillery, and javelins in the past 2 months, the official said. So, for everybody who was saying that this might be just Ukraine seizing the moment and Ukraine just trying to, seize the opportunity, Ukraine has been getting ready for this with the help of US. Привет, Настя! With the help of US for months now. Also, here is an interesting point. The US has admitted in participating in warfare planning with Ukraine, which is something they wouldn't do to a country that may have a chance of losing the war, because the US would never put themselves and their ass on the line so much. The US would never admit to anything like that from a country that would have even a slightest chance in hell of losing. Hi, Antonina. Hi from Russia. Bye from Ukraine. But yes, we are. Hi, Walasi. But so yeah, basically, this is huge. This is actually a huge admission, and this is a huge, 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 huge thing. Ну, я з США, я живу в Нью-Йорку, але я зі Львова. Тобто я в США, але я зі Львова. Привіт. So basically, the US would not be admitting to anything like that had they thought that there is a slightest itty bitty little tiny chance of Ukraine losing. Well, because anytime somebody comes in and says hi from Russia, normally it follows by some Putin rhetoric and some crappy things to say about Ukraine. I would also say that it's quite literally normal for a Ukrainian person to see the word Russia and want to throw up and have a PTSD reaction. And I know that a lot of Russians don't get it, and I know that a lot of Russians are upset that Ukrainians don't want to speak to them, that Ukrainians react to them aggressively, that Ukrainians don't want to see you guys in our lives or anything like that. But it's normal. It's normal because you come from a country that is actively killing off our nation. And I don't want to see the word Russia written on anything, especially in my life where I'm talking about Ukraine and what's currently happening in my country. If you just want to say hi, then you can say hi without saying from Russia. I understand that maybe you're doing it because you want the support because you're against the war and you want to show that you're a Russian who's against the war. But here's the thing, it's sweet. But at the same time, if you want to show support for Ukraine, organize the millions of people that say they're against the war and do something. Because all of your "we are against the war" on words is really not doing anything for us while we're all dying. So I'm sorry. That's why I'm aggressive, because I don't want to see the word Russia written anywhere, especially not in my space where I talk about my country that is currently being murdered by Russia. Sorry, bro. The US would never give guns if they didn't know you were going to win. Yeah, exactly. But US also would never admit to having covertly planned an operation for the take back of the South. US would never admit to helping Ukraine covertly plan an operation to take back the South had they not thought that we're absolutely winning, because that is a big admission. That is a big admission because the US said that they're going to be talking about all of the weapons they're shipping to Ukraine and are going to release everything publicly, and then turned out they weren't. weren't talking about it publicly. They were not talking about every shipment they have sent to Ukraine. And they sure as hell were not talking about participating in preparing the counteroffensive. So that is a big admission. That is a big admission. Detonation of Russian equipment and ammo in Enerhodar. Настя, вітаємо. Вітаємо в нас на каналі. Дуже приємно, коли мене знаходять люди з України. Останнім часом набагато більше. А ще, оскільки люди з України, то в мене є одна така штука, якою я дуже люблю хвастатись, тому що, точніше, пишатися, тому що я ніколи в житті не думала, що в мене таке станеться. Але якщо ви дивилися в Зеленського на каналі 24 серпня відеоролик про історію України, те, як Україна боролася за незалежність, то цей надокучливий голос – це я. Це мій голос. І я не знала, що він опиниться в президента на каналі, але так вийшло. Чи так сталося скорше? Боже, я не знаю, скільки я всіх цих російських слів набралася недавно. But yeah. There were shots, these are the shots of what the defenders of Azovstal looked like before and after getting to the Russians. The difference between the pictures is more than 100 days. This is what the defender of Azovstal looked like when he was first captured and then today. That is a difference of 3 months. Three months. The armed forces of our country, our special services, our intelligence are doing everything possible and impossible for every Russian military to necessarily feel the Ukrainian response to this horrible terror that Russia has brought on our land. Throughout the temporarily occupied territory of Ukraine, from Crimea to the Kharkiv region, the Russian army does not have and will not have a single safe base, a single quiet place. Our defenders will destroy all warehouses, headquarters of the occupiers, their equipment, wherever they are located. This is Ukrainian land, and the occupiers can do only two things: flee or surrender. We leave them no other options. Also, I want to once again draw the attention of all our people in Crimea. Please stay away from Russian military facilities. Do not stay near Russian bases and military airfields. Inform the special services of Ukraine of all the information you know about the occupier so that the liberation of Crimea can happen as fast as possible. Hi, James. Rebuilding Ukraine after the war will cost 600 to 800 billion. Oh, okay, enjoy your work day. All right, it's so early for you. Zelensky said in a video message to the French enterprise movement MEDEF. According to him today, it is difficult to name a specific amount that will be required to restore the infrastructure of Ukraine since active hostilities continue, but at the moment it's 600 to 800 billion dollars. At the same time, Zelensky suggested that for these purposes, it may be necessary to allocate from 600 to 800 billion dollars. This amount, according to the president, was publicly announced during the summit in Lugano. Then, thank you for following on Twitch. Also, Mikhail Gorbachev died, Russian media reported. Obviously, we've talked about it before. Well, the last remaining trace of Soviet Union is gone. Boo-hoo. Armed forces of Ukraine demilitarized 5 ammunition depots, 2 bases, and 1 headquarters of Russia in a day. IAEA to arrive at Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant tomorrow, according to New York Times. According to the publication, the IAEA inspection of the ZNPP will last 4 days, from August 31st to September 3rd. According to reports, the IAEA mission will consist of 14 experts. The mission did not include representatives of Ukraine and Russia. In Kharkiv, there is a strike in the city center. The mayor, Terehov, So this is all of the updates I have from this channel, but I will probably have, yes, I do have more. So let me do this. I want to move my setup to another room because my roommate just came back. One second. Слушай, родной, пойди построй себе сральник, который находится не на улице. Когда ты начнешь какать в нормальном туалете, эта долбаная палка вылезет у тебя из задницы, и тебе не придется молиться на Путина, потому что больно так не... Честное слово. Я тебе говорю, человеку, у которого туалет есть с детства. Настолько меняет твою жизнь и настроение, просто представить себе не можешь. Anyways, I love speaking to Russian trolls. I love how like five people have demilitarized the Russian troll. Okay, so let me grab my setup and I'm gonna move it to my room because I want to let Amy, Emmy eat pretty much. So I am going to move all of this to my room, and then I will come back for my news thing. I'm so sorry for this awful angle by all means. I am just going to move to a different location. I know that he's gone, Nazara. He was gone by like 7 people at one time. That was quite a lot of people really not wanting this gentleman, if I may say so myself, to be present on the stream. Also, oh my gosh, this setup is so not ready to have a live done from here, but it is what it is. We will adjust. We are, as we're Ukrainian, we will adjust. We always adjust. So let me adjust. Oh my gosh. Okay. So that seems to be decent. Now let me go grab my iPad and I will be back in a second. Just brief pause. Sorry. Yeah, I feel the same way because I'm a vampire. Okay, I am back, and we're going on a trip, Kat. You're too funny. But because this is an odd angle, let me switch this to here as well. And sorry, guys. Little technical difficulties, happens sometimes. Okay. Who are you talking to, gosh? Do you need to know everything? Do you need to know everything about who I'm talking to? I feel like it shouldn't matter who I'm talking to. I'm talking to, my 5 harem husbands. Because, I live in a world where one husband is not enough. Anyways, Ukraine, the United States, and 8 other countries refute the Russian fake about the development of biological weapons in the laboratories of the U.S. State Department. The signatories add that the program is exploring ways to protect human and animal health from infectious disease outbreaks, as well as improve laboratory biosafety and biosecurity. Meditation in Ukrainian. Fascinating footage of the Ukrainian aircraft. One can look at it forever. This is what we in Ukraine could look at forever. A tree grown by the fallen hero was planted in the Hryshko National Botanical Garden in Kyiv. Simon Oblomay worked on one of the botanical garden's projects. His tree was planted in the Rubstov Arboretum. A commemorative plaque about the fighter has also been installed there. So this is a fighter of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Well, on the photos is the fighter of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. And he worked in this garden. And so there was a tree planted in his honor, and there was a plaque on that tree that was installed in his honor. And this is the proper way of honoring your heroes, by honoring them in a way that they would want to be honored, not by shipping them back to Russia in garbage bags. The Russian invasion resumed the dismantling of Soviet monuments in various countries. That's how many of them have been disassembled since the beginning of the invasion. 5 in Estonia, 8 in Latvia, 7 in Lithuania, and 6 in Poland. We call it the decommunization. And now, a very cute compilation that I know everybody just wants to see for a change of palette for a second, and it's Ukrainian military man and his 4-legged friends. See, I like seeing things like this because they kind of give me hope. You know, I actually, a couple of times I was asked why Ukrainian people care so much about, why Ukrainian people seem to care so much about wildlife and like animals and stuff like that. And you know, I realized because people were asking about, apparently like in Russia and in Slovenia, if like a dog gets injured and it's a guard dog, they can just unalive it, right? In Ukraine, it's not like that. I haven't heard of people literally unaliving their service animals just because like they're no longer in the best shape. And then I started thinking about it deeper, and I thought, you know, we have a lot of mythology that's connected to nature and living creatures. And so living creatures are very important to us. And we all really appreciate all the wildlife and all the life. And I feel like it's just kind of in our nature to take care of animals because they're also helpless without us if we put them in conditions in which they're not supposed to be. So that's just like a random thought I had because in one of the conversations I had with Zero today, the illustrator who did this awesome profile thing, he asked me basically about it, and I was like, wait, actually I haven't thought about it. And then I gave it a thought, and I was like, wait, a lot of our mythology and a lot of our interests include wildlife and you know, just creatures of all sorts. Okay. The star of Downtown Abbey voiced a story about the destroyed sites of Kharkiv. British actor Hugh Bonneville voiced the story of damaged and destroyed cultural monuments in Kharkiv as part of the international project Postcards from Ukraine. Since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, Russian army has destroyed more than 450 unique cultural and historical sites. The Ukrainian Institute, with support from U.S. aid, launched the international Postcards from Ukraine campaign telling about the destroyed landmarks. So I want to play this video on YouTube the way I normally do. Also, if you guys are not following me on YouTube, but you like YouTube, I have a YouTube channel which is the same as this. I also have a Twitter. I also have a Twitch, and I stream simultaneously on here on Twitch and on YouTube. And so if you prefer any of these networks more than you, or social media more than you prefer TikTok, you're welcome to migrate. Also, if you go on YouTube, you can rewatch all the streams from the beginning of times. Well, not really the time, pretty much from very early on in the history of this channel, or rather like at least 3 months ago. So yeah, so if you'd like that, please do so, and I will be very happy to see you there. Now let me prop up this iPad so that you guys could see this on here, but also on YouTube you will be able to see it full screen, and you will be able to see it much better because there will be no distractions. So I will do mirror video. I will move this over here like that. And then I will do video file. Okay, so Also, let me do this for one quick second.
I'm Hugh Bonneville. I'm going to talk about a place that has suffered from Russian attacks every single day. This is Kharkiv, the second biggest city in Ukraine. Almost every building in its historical center is an architectural landmark. Since the city's foundation and its growth as a center for trade, industry, and culture, examples of Art Nouveau, Neo-Baroque, and Neo-Renaissance architecture have flourished here in Kharkiv. Freedom Square, one of the biggest squares in the world, contains prominent monuments of constructivist architecture. The historical center is of great symbolic value for the people of Kharkiv. Since the first days of the invasion, Kharkiv has been one of the main targets of the Russian army. Sparing neither the historical heritage nor the lives of civilians, the Russian army shells the city every day. Administrative buildings, historic university buildings, temples, and libraries have been devastated. Dozens of people have been wounded and killed. The bomb craters in Freedom Square and the ruined buildings across the historical center have become a terrible reminder of the price of liberty in the 21st century. You can destroy squares, but you can't destroy freedom.
And he is incredibly right. You can destroy squares, but you cannot destroy freedom, and you cannot destroy Ukrainian will for freedom, and you cannot destroy Ukrainian fight for freedom. Hi, Vasu. Well, there aren't any really news about Kherson right now because, as the armed forces of Ukraine have asked for, they have asked to not talk about it right now because it's a covert operation. But I will tell you that Ukrainian residents of Crimea have been asked to evacuate if they can, and evacuation routes are being planned. U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin will personally host a meeting of the Ukrainian Defense Contact Group at Ramstein Air Base in Germany on September 8, 2022, the U.S. Air Force, Europe, and Africa Command announced. A music video by Ukrainian director Tanu Muino for Harry Styles' track As It Was received 2 MTV Video Music Awards 2022, Best Pop Video and Best Cinematography. The clip was shot by cameraman Mykita Kuzmenko. So this video was shot by a Ukrainian. Розумієте ви ще англійську? Ну, можете, якщо будете мене дивитись, може почнете розуміти. Я так, час від часу українською також розмовляю. Але привіт, приємно познайомитись. Ukrainian military will never give up, and this is a picture that comes with that statement. In the past week, from August 22nd to August 28th, the Ukrainian military demilitarized 27 ammunition depots and 22 enemy bases. This is what the missile of the occupiers, which hit the park in the center of Mykolaiv yesterday, was stuffed with. Today, it is difficult to predict the possible timing of the expulsion of Russian invaders from the territory of Ukraine, but the stronger Europe unites around Ukraine, the faster the victory over the aggressor will be. President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, during a conversation with the participants of the Strategic Forum in the Slovenian city of Bled. The United States has assessed that Ukraine has a good chance of reclaiming territory captured by Russia during its initial invasion, U.S. Department of Defense official said. Poland insists EU stop issuing visas to Russians other than humanitarian ones. The Ukrainian armed forces destroyed a Russian crossing across the Dnipro River near the village of Lviv in the Borislav district of the Kherson region, according to Operational Command South. The U.S. National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications, John Kirby, called for a controlled shutdown of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, According to him, this could be a guarantee of its safety in the near future. The Russian Federation is trying to maintain the appearance of great military success in Ukraine, disparagingly commenting on the Ukrainian counterattack, to no avail. Because, well, obviously people can follow the news and nobody believes them. Propaganda only works on people that are limited enough to fall for the propaganda. And propaganda usually targets specific groups of people that already have those beliefs instilled deep down. Thank you, Samuel and Anastasia. The Russian military launched missile strikes at the Kryvyi Rih and Dnipro districts of the Dnipropetrovsk region as of 2:32 a.m. tonight. So these are the drones that Iran sent to Russia, which, needless to say, do not compare at all to the Bayraktars that are going to be built in Ukraine and to the Bayraktars that Ukraine has already. François, no, I don't speak français. I don't speak français. I don't speak. Je parle français un petit, like very, very little. So I can understand written French. I don't really speak French at all. I took French for a year, but to not much avail. My roommate, however, is French. Since the beginning of the full-scale war, the European Union has provided more than 10 billion euros in financial support to Ukraine. Finland is potentially ready to support the EU mission for the training of the Ukrainian military, Minister of Defense of Finland. The IAEA mission is already in Kyiv, which we've heard about before. Kirill Strimousov, a Russian collaborator and representative of the occupation administration of the Kherson region, who calls the Ukrainian counterattack in the south a fake, is not in Kherson himself for some reason. I wonder why. The very next day, he published an address in his Telegram channel with the city panorama as a background. Twitter users were able to identify the location. Strimousov was recording the address from the Marriott Hotel in the center of the Russian city of Voronezh. So he is not in Kherson, yet he calls the Kherson offensive a fake. Why isn't he in the city then? Odd. The U.S. Department of Defense believes that the success of the Ukrainian army in the war with the Russian Federation is due to its unconventional approach to combat operations. The Pentagon representatives and military experts told the New York Times about it. Ukrainian soldiers are trained on the latest M11-9A3 howitzers. American soldiers are training artillerymen of the armed forces of Ukraine on the most modern version of the howitzer. It is equipped with a digital fire control system and GPS inertial navigation system. Hi, Linda. The Russians announced the opening of 16 schools in Mariupol. 4 of them have bare walls and 1 has no roof. Yeah, lovely. Also, so those kids can't eat because there is no humanitarian aid and nowhere in the city to get groceries or to earn money to get groceries, but they're supposed to go learn the Russian world in Russian schools without roofs. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The first ship with Ukrainian agricultural products chartered by the UN World Food Program arrived in Djibouti. It was reported by the press service of the Ministry of Infrastructure. It conserves the Brave Commander bulk carrier with 23,000 tons of wheat on board. After unloading, it will be delivered to consumers in Ethiopia. Ну, а як ви думаєте, з України чи з Росії? Ukrainian law enforcement officers have identified 3 more servicemen of the Russian armed forces who abused a civilian during the temporary occupation of Kyiv region. For a week, they abused a local by beating him, threatening him with a firearm, and tying his hands and feet with a rope. The Russian soldiers stripped the man, buried him in cold soil, and did not provide him with water, food, or clothing. Germany suspends visa facilitation agreement with Russia, which we discussed earlier. Я проживаю просто в Нью-Йорку дуже давно. Ну, як давно? 12 років, в принципі, 16 років тут живу, але я зі Львова. Привіт! Latvia will introduce additional verification of Belarusians and Russians when issuing residence permits and visas. According to the Ministry of Internal Affairs of the country, now the citizens of Belarus and the Russian Federation will be additionally checked and assessed for the degree of risk to state security and public order on the part of the citizens. Armed forces of Ukraine are handed over with a combat robot to evacuate wounded soldiers from the battlefield, which is really cool. Привет, Odessa. Similar equipment now in service with 3 armies of NATO member countries. The first copy in Ukraine will be used by the Hospital Medical Battalion to provide assistance to wounded soldiers, especially in situations where there is an increased danger of the personal departure of evacuators during shelling. Here is what that looks like. Are you American? Globa 1234. No, I am Ukrainian who lives in America for the past 11 years while I live in the United States in North America. Hi, Punk. Hello. And Globa 1234. No, I am not American. I am Ukrainian. Born and raised. Oh. Привіт. So this is a very cool aircraft, and yeah, I think that it's going to be a very, 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 very good addition to the Ukrainian army. So this is what the morning in Kharkiv looked, or rather sounded like, this morning. Hi, Estonia. Oh, hi, Axelman. Hi. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the channel. And thank you to Estonia for all of the support you guys have provided to Ukraine, for all of the garbage Soviet monuments that you have dismantled, and for all of your amazing reaction to the aftermath, rather, for your amazing reaction and welcoming of Ukrainian people. So thank you. We really do not take it for granted, and we really do appreciate it. Also, let me try out something on YouTube and Twitch, because this bot thing still doesn't work, and I have been putting in such cool quotes, and it for some reason doesn't work on YouTube. It kind of works on Twitch, but I have to activate it. It doesn't do it by itself. Oh, hi, Jason, and hi, Ryan. Ukraine will receive 5 million tablets of potassium iodide, as we talked about earlier. No need to panic, but I would say, especially if you live in Europe and if you live in the United States, it's good to have potassium iodide. And it's not like I'm trying to put anybody in a state of panic or anything like that. But at the same time, there have been Russian troops at Zaporizhia and PP since early spring. And you know, it's better to be safe than sorry, and it's never going to hurt you to have potassium iodide. I personally have bought some tablets from Amazon. They're about $15, and it's the 130 milligram ones. Please, 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 please do not buy the supplements, because the supplements have potassium iodide and whatever else. The supplements are not, it's a scam to basically get you to buy supplements, but they're not what you need. You need like those kind of like very old school looking potassium iodide tablets, and they're 130 milligrams. Disclaimer, by no means in any case, do not take it preemptively. Do not. Please contact your physician and ask them how to take it. Or you can also look it up online from official sources. A lot of sources now have instructions on how to take it, especially in Europe. And also, if you have any sort of a thyroid issue like hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, or Hashimoto's, please contact your primary care doctor and ask them how to, what you particularly need to do. So Ukrainian military personnel shows videos of their daily routine. And thank you for following, Axelman. Welcome to our community. Yes, and also some people can be allergic to iodine, like Tammy, so please check for that as well. The press service of the Holy See issued a communique stating that Pope Francis condemns the war that Russia started against Ukraine, and his statements on this subject should not be considered a political position. On August 24th, Pope Francis declared that Daria Dugina was an innocent victim of the war. And then Catholic churches in Italy were basically feeling sad for Daria Dugina's death. And she's not an innocent victim of the war. She's a woman who was quite literally asking for a genocide of Ukrainians and saying that no Ukrainians deserve to live. So that is not an innocent victim of the war. She is a huge preacher of Eurasianism, and she's a huge preacher of the Russian world, which basically means that anybody who has ever spoken Russian should live by the Russian rule. Yeah. Also, there was something else that I was going to say on the topic of iodine, but it slipped my mind because I saw this and I got so incredibly angry. I'm so sorry. I just can't understand how that could be a thing. So school children are offered to go to school in Russia with bags like that. There are no comments needed. It says anti-terror for the victory. Hotspots. Disgusting. Disgusting. Ukraine prepares evacuation routes from the occupied Crimea quite intensely, and also asks Ukrainian citizens, or rather Ukrainians in Crimea, to look for shelter. The defense ministers of the EU member states have reached political agreement to start work on the creation of an EU training mission for the Ukrainian army, said Joseph Borrell. President Zelensky met with director of the General International Atomic Energy Agency, and this is what it looked like. Here we have a picture. The EU filled the gas storage facilities on the territory of the member states at the level of 80%, completing the task ahead of schedule, said the head of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. Oh my gosh, Gorby. Yesterday, on the Day of Memory of the Defenders of Ukraine, the posthumous assignment of titles and awards to the heroes of Ukraine took place. Here are some photos from the ceremony. Hi, Isaac Newton. I'm talking about Ukraine. Gazprom has suspended the supply of gas to the French company Engie. Gazprom cited incomplete payment for July deliveries as the reason. A very stern guard dog protects the soldiers of the armed forces of Ukraine. Do not approach. The dog is armed and very dangerous. Hi, Carlo. How are you? Ukraine has always been winning and will always be winning. You know, we love some good pick-me-up style videos. Our four-legged defenders also send you greetings, and this is another pick-me-up video of a Ukrainian soldier and a baby husky. Believe me, he's in charge. Oh my gosh, all dogs are in charge. I have a dog and she is in charge. Максим, мій інстаграм такий самий, як всі мої соціальні мережі. So I just asked how one can find my Instagram. So I'm on Twitter, on Instagram as like just separate news sources, and I'm also on Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok for news streams every day. And if you wanted to find me on a social network, all you have to do is look up the same name, because all of my social media is under the same name, and it's Yulia. Am I nervous about the counteroffensive? No, I think that the armed forces of Ukraine got it, and I think they are gonna do an incredible job. And yes, Isaac, that was a very, very cute dog, and he's definitely in charge no matter how little he is. Have you been off this particular platform for a while? No, I've been on it every day. While the fighting continues, Ukrainian firefighters and rescuers extinguish fires caused by enemy shelling, rescue civilians from the rubble, and rescue animals. A four-legged friend stands in front of the operating room where a wounded Ukrainian soldier is being operated on. Kramatorsk, Donetsk region, 2022. And this is his dog. This is giving me Hachiko vibes. Kind of, but this also has a very, 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 very long history, Isaac, and this history is horrendous. So it's not just decided, it's been happening for a very long time. And actually, I've been thinking I need to, so we always talk about why, sort of like we always talk about the offensive, we always talk about the war, we always talk about Putin, but we never really talk deeply about why. Why now? Why Ukraine? Why is Ukraine so important to him, and why? So I want to do a video on like the deeper reasons other than like the obvious ones of history and stuff like that, and of why Russia's doing it, right? Or sort of like analyze historically and in modernity what's been happening. So I'm gonna try and do a video maybe maybe today, tonight, or tomorrow, depending. I might release a few shorter videos today and then do that one tomorrow because it's longer, because I still have a lot to deal with before I can even go to bed tonight. But with that said, that's all the news that I had for today. If you are not following me, please follow me. That would greatly help spread the news about Ukraine. I'm not asking because I want more followers, but I do need more followers for TikTok to take me more seriously and to push my streams and lives everywhere, because, you know, bureaucracy, and we love bureaucracy. And all I do on this channel is talk about Ukraine, useful information about Ukraine, history, cultural context in general, geopolitics, politics, you name it. But basically, we analyze everything, and we do breakdown of the news for the past 24 hours every day on this channel. Thank you so much, Gabby. And I also have a YouTube, a Twitch, a Twitter, and an Instagram. Thank you so much, Isaac. Welcome to the community. And thank you, Gap. So if you find my news streams interesting, if you are interested in Ukraine, if you're interested in getting to know more about Ukraine, then please give me a follow and give it a chance. You might just like it. And if you don't like it, you don't have to watch it, but your sole following is going to help my content be pushed to more people who might actually want to watch, and people who have been looking for updates about Ukraine. Oh my gosh. That's so pretty. Oh, thank you, Rosalind. Oh, that was so beautiful. Thank you so much. I've never seen that one. So beautiful, and it had a sound. I'm sorry, guys, for Twitch and TikTok, but for Twitch and YouTube, there is this like gift of meteor shower in on TikTok, and it's just very beautiful. So thank you so very much, Rosalind. That was beautiful. So let me have my opinions on Twitch. Says, I read that Zelensky banned several political parties and apps recently outlawed collective bargaining. Ukraine is a fascist state. It has Nazi militias, and I refuse to have my tax dollars go there as an American. Well, Zelensky did not ban opposition. Zelensky banned pro-Russian parties, which would make sense, given that they were leaking secret information to Russia and were a direct threat to national security. Not to mention that half of the members of those parties quite literally fled to Russia and are living a cushy life right now, right after the invasion began, and some even before, because they knew about the invasion. Now, collective bargaining, Ukraine is not a fascist state. Ukraine is being invaded by a fascist state. And no, we don't have Nazi militias. You know, that rhetoric about Azov that you love hearing from Tucker Carlson is not necessarily true, not true at all. And if you were to look into any articles or look into these guys, they quite literally gave their lives and limbs en masse to protect Mariupol that was shelled and besieged. And they were the last guard standing, not letting people die. So no, that is not true. And if you don't want your tax dollars to go there, well, then I don't know. Maybe do something about it other than harass me on my stream. So I would say buenas noches. And, you know, in the words of Boris Johnson, hasta la vista. Anyways, that was not how I wanted to end this stream, but it is what it is. And also, let me have my opinions. I would say, instead of opinions, maybe lean better on facts and look up the definition of fascism, okay? All right? And then we'll talk. Thank you. Anyways, another exciting announcement. So I know that I haven't been keeping up with the Ukrainian American Spy merch store or spy gear store, but I'm going to put it on hold for a few days or a week, and we are going to launch a limited edition merch with the branding done by Zero. Zero is an amazing illustrator, and it's going to be like us x Zero, and I have offered Zero a percentage of profits because, you know, the percentage usually goes to the artist, to the military, and then some of it goes back into the site for me to be able to even like sustain it. But Zero said that he would want his share to go to the to charity and to the donations to the armed forces of Ukraine. So that's where it's going to go. So basically, I'm excited to announce that 60% of profits are going to go to the armed forces of Ukraine, and 40% of profits are going to go back into the site until the site is like, basically until the maintenance cost is paid off. And then the 100% of profits are going to go to the armed forces of Ukraine. It's just that I can't afford to maintain the platform by myself sometimes because I live off my savings and I don't really make that much money. Or rather, I'm not really making money right now, almost at all. So because this is something I chose to do full time, for those of you who are unaware. So it's not like profits for me from the site, from the merch, but it's for usually for the illustrator who was my aunt, and up until this collection, and Zero, who is amazing. Also, thank you for donating to the fundraiser. So we're going to do that line. And also so I really, as I mentioned earlier, I kind of want this channel to be a one-stop shop for you to find out news at any time of the day in any given format. So me and my amazing team of volunteers who have volunteered to help me, because they're amazing people and they're my moderators and they're also my close friends now, because we have been talking every day and keeping up with each other since the beginning of the invasion. And they have truly been my rock. And honestly, the amount of time and dedication and just kindness that they have extended to me is incredible, and to this channel and to Ukraine and to support of everything. And so we have decided that we would like to make this channel a little bit more geared towards like your comfort and convenience. So we're going to try and keep up with the team. We're going to try and keep up with Twitter. So if you don't follow Twitter, please follow Twitter, because now there's going to be more reposts during the day. So when I'm not live, you're going to be able to go on Twitter, and there are going to be reposts from things that I find useful and find kind of like important for the day. No, you're not banned. I see you, punk. Why would you be banned? I can see you. But so yes, hi Nicole. And so basically, well, Carlo, I now have a YouTube that you can follow, and you can rewatch all of my news streams dating back like 3 months ago, because they're all saved. And if you missed it, or if you're not available at that time, then you can just rewatch it there. Also, we're going to look into launching a podcast, but it's not going to be a podcast as in something new, as in like we're going to look into converting some of the streams into a podcast form, and basically uploading them post facto. So some of you guys were reaching out and saying that you would prefer it to be in a podcast form. So we're going to try and do that as well. So Twitter is going to be much more information. And in general, there is going to be a big revamping coming to the whole channel, because I want it to become sort of like a news source network for you guys, where you can find everything that you're looking for regarding the Ukrainian invasion. And also, I would like to, you know how the store used to be called the Ukrainian American Spy Shop. So I think that it's safe to say that Spy News Network is a very good name for what we're doing here, and or the Spy Network or the Spy News. But I'm going to post it on Patreon. I'm going to post a couple of options, and you guys are going to vote for them, and then that's the name that we're going to choose. I will say that I prefer Spy News Network as a channel, as like the name for the whole thing, but it's only going to really be reflected in the store and in some just like, you know, cheeky little things that are going to be supporting the store and the whole like branding thing, because obviously it's nice when everything is matching, when everything has like, you know, when everything has a purpose, it looks more professional, and it probably will make more people react and read the news. Will make more people react to the channel, trust it, and read the news from us and from me, and, you know, from recommended channels, which are going to be obviously all of the other Ukrainian creators. And so that's where we're at. So that's what we're at. That's where we are at. And I hope that you will be enjoying this new venture, and I hope that it's going to help you have more dimensions to the news, and help you basically stay more informed and stay more up to date, and just simplify your life looking for the news, you know, if you are. So yeah, so I really hope that that's going to be productive, and I really hope that you are going to enjoy it, and hopefully we can manage to make it smooth and fascinating for you guys. But yeah, Spy News Network is what I prefer. And yeah. So yeah, so that's where we're going. And I'm going to briefly disable Yewleea.com, because we are going to be revamping it into the Spy News Network. Well, I would say souvenir stand. I think that it's going to be called the souvenir stand. So yeah, so thank you guys very much. Thank you for being here all the time. Thank you for following. Thank you for listening. Thank you for caring about Ukraine. Thank you for being so good and kind to me. And thank you for all of your support and all of the ventures. And thank you for just being amazing, kind, wonderful people who care about human rights and life. And okay, I'm gonna go, and I will see you guys later. And Tammy, I will go on a little later, and I will send you a picture of Cindy, or I'll post one on Patreon. Cindy is on the couch, completely passed out, so I don't want to disturb her. And I feel like I always show Cindy to TikTok and never to YouTube, because I can't carry the camera. It's just not right. But okay, bye guys. Bye.